Hello everyone, this is Highlander from MTG Cardsmith doing another custom Magic the Gathering card review, and today we're reviewing a card by Shadowreign called Prepare for Battle. Is that really not the name of a Magic card? Apparently not. This is a French card. Okay. I mean, that surprises me, but cool. I mean, it's nice. All right, so let's see what we got here. This is a 4-mana sorcery at uncommon. Search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Target creature you control becomes Gallant. All right, we've seen Gallant before. It gets +1/+1 and has Hex Proof as long as it's the combat phase. Okay, this is a fine card. So, I believe that there is already a card that just searches your library, and I'm not talking about Stoneforge Mystic. Let's see, search library equipment and white sorcery. Let's see. Yeah. Wow, this one costs 1. That's crazy. Search your library for equipment, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. This is a really old card. Open the armory for an aura equipment, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Okay. So this effect, I would say in modern in modern Magic, something like this is around what you would see. So this is normally 2 mana. So here we're going 4 mana. So we're attacking 2 extra mana on this thing to give something +1/+1 and has hexproof as long as it's the combat phase. Now, I don't really put a lot of value in this hexproof element, because it doesn't help against that much stuff, right? It's like this really only protects your creature against cards that like only affect attacking or blocking creatures, right? So there's white cards that are like destroy target attacking creature, destroy target blocking creature, right? Those are really the only things that this protects against. Other than that, it really doesn't do anything, because they can just like kill your guy at the end of your main phase before it gets to combat. If they have an instant. So the hexproof here, that was kind of my issue with Gallant on the last card that I saw. Is this Gallant is essentially just a +1/+1 counter in most cases. This hexproof is like a really minor bonus. It's not quite as, it's about a +1/+1 counter. It's not quite as good, but so I mean, basically, if this card said search your library for an equipment, put it in your hand, then shuffle, and target creature could, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, I think this card's a little bit overcosted. This card could probably cost 3. Paying 4 to get an equipment and a small buff to one of your creatures, I think is a little bit too highly costed. But other than that, it's a fine card. I mean, it's a spin on search for an equipment card, put it in your hand. It gives your creature a little buff at sorcery speed. It's a fine card, but I wouldn't be excited to play this card in a limited set. Really, I would probably never pick this card in a limited set. 4 mana to search for an equipment and a small buff on a creature, I think is not worth it at sorcery speed. So yeah, I mean, a couple things you can do. So you could make this instant. If you make this card instant, it actually becomes a combat trick with an extra search your library for an equipment. That's probably not the best way to go, because in that case, this hexproof does matter, right? because it's like they wait for your combat, or, they wait till you get into combat, and then they like kill your guy while it's attacking, and then you prepare for battle, and all of a sudden your guy is hex proof, and you get an equipment. But that's like, that doesn't really seem like the right way to go with this card. So I think this card at 3 or even 2 mana might be okay. Like, because you still have to play the equipment and attach it, right? So like you're searching for an equipment, you still have to play it and you still have to attach it. And you get the small bonus. So like if you compare this to Open the Armory, the small bonus here is that you can get an aura as well. And then here the small bonus would be, well, your creature becomes Gallant, which is, again, sort of like a +1/+1 counter, but a little bit different. So you could even potentially push this thing and go to 2 mana. I mean, the thing is, like, if you're playing a deck that has equipment and you're playing, so always the issue with equipment is like you need to have not that many of them in your deck because you need to have enough creatures to put the equipment on. It's like the same thing with auras, right? It's like, if you have too many equipment or auras, you're gonna be, there's gonna be enough situations where you don't have a creature to put it on that it's not worth it. So usually you want, like, I don't know, 2 equipments maybe in your deck. You can kind of offset that with, certain equipments that come into play and like automatically attach themselves to a creature, like Living Weapon, or there's some other cards that do that nowadays. Goblin Morningstar is an example. Let's do Goblin Morningstar. This one you have to roll a d20, but if you roll a 10 or a 20, you get to create a goblin and attach this to it, so you get like a 2/1 trample. Stuff like that helps a lot, I think, because it's like a combination of an equipment and a creature. So anyway, my point is that it's hard to fit a card like this into a deck because you need creatures and you need equipment, and once you have that, you have very few slots left for anything else. And you probably want removal in your deck. You probably, may want a combat trick of some kind. So I think putting this at 2 mana is actually totally fine. Like, I think Gallant is a small enough bonus that it's probably equivalent. It's maybe a little bit better than like giving the option to get an aura, but I don't think that's a big deal. And at 2 mana, this starts to become interesting, I think. But I think at 3 and 4 mana, you would basically never play this card in limited. And that's kind of where uncommons and commons really matter. So prepare for battle, I think, is interesting. It's a nice little card, but I think it's actually heavily overcosted. I'll give prepare for battle I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Fine card, but I do think it needs to be a lot cheaper. So cool. That's my review of Prepare for Battle. Thank you for watching.